Hello all, I hope you're all doing well. We're continuing this week with our weekly portion review, and we are in the portion of Terumah, which means a gift or an offering. And this portion really focuses on the tabernacle, building of the tabernacle, following God's commandment. Now, while we've discussed last week, and there'll be a link to that in the description below, we discussed, I don't mean last week, last year, sorry, how the tabernacle can be seen as the blueprint for the human soul. Today, I want to focus specifically on the tabernacle itself. And there is a prevailing view that the third temple will descend fully constructed from the heavens. Now, this is like in contrast to the description of the construction of the tabernacle in this specific portion. And the first two temples, right, where there was an emphasis on the human participation and building the house of God. Now, what is it that we should expect in the future then? So, in my humble opinion, it's really a regrettable misunderstanding that leads to this confusion, right? People misunderstanding the phrase "a temple from the heavens," right, or "Mikdash min hashamayim." And what does this really mean, a temple from the heavens, though? We aren't really thinking that there's a meteor floating in the sky just waiting for permission to land on top of the Temple Mount. Rather, a temple from the heavens means a spiritual temple, right? When we say that the future temple will descend from the heavens, it means the ideals of the temple will be revealed, right? Humanity, please God, will attain an elevated spiritual perception of how a spiritual temple actually gets materialized in this world. And that could be through the altar or the walls or the ramp or the Holy of Holies, of course. But the temple itself will descend from the heavens in a spiritual sense. But the actual construction is carried out by human beings. And we could look at the temple, the third temple coming really sort of like a date, the matchmaking date, right? Where both sides really should arrive on time. And you could arrive early, but you definitely don't want to be showing up late to the date. And already King Solomon, in his infinite wisdom, already tells us this in Song of Songs, when he says, "I rose to open for my beloved, but my beloved had turned away and passed on." Right? There are moments in history that we really cannot miss. And the question is, where are we on the historical timeline? Right? This is a conversation I have often in the TLC. Are we still in exile? Right? Are you required to still wait? Or has that time really arrived, right? And is God really simply waiting for us to join him in this date, in this encounter? And this encounter really is an ancient longing of God to the world, right? And imagine you go to an adult, right, who's never read the Torah in his life, and you give him the 5 books of Moses, and you ask him to summarize a central message. He would most probably say, where he read that God created the world and God created man, people left Egypt, the people of Israel left Egypt, and they received the Torah, they entered the land, and they built the temple. That is the story of the 5 books. And we could really distill this into one brief sentence, which is God desires a temple, right? God is desiring an encounter, as he says, "Be holy, for I am holy." He doesn't want to be the only holy one. There's a very interesting midrash that tells us that even before God created the world, he built a canopy, a sukkah, on the Temple Mount for himself. And in it, God himself prayed and said, "May it be my will that my children build me a house in this place." Right? So this is, in a certain way, portraying that the temple is not as a historical event, but really it's this eternal longing for a conversation with the Creator, that he's looking to have and engage in dialogue with someone. And then all we have to clarify then is, who is this entity that God wishes to turn? Who does God want us to turn to? Who does he want to have this conversation with? And we have to see that throughout the Torah, this entity is really a collective. Right? Initially, we talk about the people of Israel, as is promised to them, and I will make you a great nation, right? A nation in the sense of people, a great people. But ultimately, it's for all humanity, right? As God promises Abraham, and through you, all the families of the earth shall be blessed. And I believe that we must really release the temple from this narrow national Israelite dimension and understand that it has a universal global significance, right? And it's precisely by internalizing Israel's responsibility for all humanity that it becomes clear that the temple must be built so the divine presence of God can actually return back to the world. We have to create this vessel. And today we live in a world that is clearly disconnected from God. And the world really longs for God to return to his sanctuary, to a place where the heart of the world beats through the heart of our nation, the nation of Israel. Of course, this requires still much work, but it does mean we have to see each other and understand that this is a walk we're doing together. Best and Shabbat Shalom.